Impro Theater and the cast and crew of this online performance would like to take this time to honor the indigenous peoples of the ancestral and unceded homelands we each inhabit, and to consider the legacy of colonization and its far-reaching effects. Impro Theater School presents Advanced Shakespeare Workouts performance of Screwball Shakespeare coming up tonight right after Impro Talk at 7 o'clock. This is Shakespeare inspired by classic films like His Girl Friday, directed by Brian Lohman, and there's another performance on Sunday, June 5th at 3:15 p.m. Also on Sunday, June 5th, right before that at 2 p.m., Impro Theater School Conservatory presents romantic comedy, Improvised. It's an improvised take on the classic cinematic genre of rom-com. That is directed by Paul Rogan. Impro Theater School has a raft of new classes coming up, including my class, Declutter Your Improv. That's Tuesdays from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. starting June 14th. This class is all about simplifying, slowing down, and staying present for a clearer and more fulfilling improvising experience. And prerequisites are just some acting and or improv experience. Coming up on June 18th on Saturdays at 10:30 a.m. is Intro to Narrative Improv with Ryan Smith. This is where the Impro story begins in an 8-week introductory workshop where you'll learn the skills to prepare for the entire Impro Theater School core program. And Ryan Smith is a wonderful teacher that you will have a great time with. Physical Core, Core 1 starts on Saturday, June 25th. That is with Maddie Goff, another of Impro Theater's wonderful teachers. Physical Core is the first workshop in the 4 core curriculum workshops, and it is the foundation for all of our narrative improv, and you will have a great time with that one. That is an 8-week class, Saturdays from 10:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m., June 25th to August 13th. And more online classes will be announced soon, so stay tuned. Hey, it's Mike Rock with Impro Theater Los Angeles. The class is called Declutter Your Improv. So how do you declutter something that you're just making up? Well, it should be called How to Prevent Clutter from Happening in Your Improv, but that's not as catchy. We work on slowing down.
So we slow down the offers
so that everything can be used. Everything can be explored. About staying present with your scene partner so that you can go deeper, trusting yourself and trusting your scene partner and trusting the unknown that you're going to discover together what needs to happen to tell your story. It's about experiencing the connection between you and your scene partner and the rest of the ensemble so you can have a clearer, more fulfilling storytelling experience. I hope you can join us for Declutter Your Improv. Hey everybody, welcome to Impro Talk. I'm Mike Rock. Thank you for joining us. Please welcome to our Impro Talk today, Parisa Fakhri, who is actress, director, producer, writer, and other things that we're about to find out. Parisa, join us. What was it like as a young artist, theater, creative person in Dallas? Were you in Dallas proper, or were you in the surrounding area?
Yeah, I grew up in a suburb of Dallas for junior high, high school and whatnot. And then once I could get out, I got out and I went to Dallas, and then I went to school in Austin and then came back to Dallas and then LA. Wait, I can't hear you.
I somehow muted myself. I somehow managed to mute myself. Everything's going haywire. My niece just graduated from UT Austin, and she's a playwright. And she said she really enjoyed being there. She loved the program. And
yeah, UT's a great spot. It's great.
What was were you a theater major, or were you other majors?
My parents would not let me be a theater major, so I tricked them into letting me get a radio, television, and film degree. They thought I would get a job with that. They were wrong. So yeah, that's what I had to just mask what I wanted to do for my parents all of the time. So that was challenging.
Really? So even before college, you still had to kind of
Oh,
toe the line or something?
my parents wouldn't. My, how deep do you want me to get? My
As
mom, okay.
I want to hear
My
it.
mom and dad, we probably collectively didn't speak for like 4 years. They could not wrap their heads around the fact that I wanted to be an actor. And my mother would say this to me. She would say, Parisa, you know that actor is nothing but drug addict and whore, yes? And I was like,
Mom.
Mom, I'm not trying to sell myself and do a bunch of drugs. It was like, so it was very challenging. And I had to persevere and be tenacious, and it's what I wanted to do. So I didn't let any of that. It sucked. It bugged me, but I kept at it, I guess.
Was there like a transition point where you were sort of like free and easy as a kid, being creative and having fun, and then suddenly the parents were like, "Okay, now that's kid stuff. Now you have to buckle down."
It's funny you should ask, because I used to make collages starting, I mean, I still collage, but I started like I was in like sixth grade. And my dad would come in and be like, what is this? You're wasting your time. But then they had put me in painting lessons, and like my art teacher would keep me extra in class so I could finish my painting. She would submit them to contests and I would win. And they put me in piano lessons. Like they gave me all of this creative, the introductions. And then when I ran with it, they were like, whoa, wait a second. So it was very confusing as a kid, as a
So
young
yeah,
adult.
sort of like mixed messages of like we want you to be creative, but
No,
uh,
I was
not
supposed to be a doctor.
well. Yeah, I feel I lived that life as well. I was my father was a doctor, and for they were very
Oh God.
supportive. When it became very clear that that wasn't in the cards, they were all cool and great about it. But as a kid, I think I put a lot of pressure on myself, thinking because I have six brothers and sisters, and I think I grew up thinking I'm the one who's supposed to be the doctor, even though I knew I wanted to be an actor or whatever. Um, yeah, so that's interesting that like they were all here's piano lessons and painting and all these other things, and yet that's not a serious way to live. Do you think you had like sort of the creative DNA, and it was only a matter of time before suddenly something was going to like bust open and
Oh yeah, I mean, like when I was a kid, like when I was probably like three, I would, we would, like I would be grab all the tissue paper. When you wrap gifts, you have tissue paper. And I told my mom, I was like, let's make a dress out of this. So we made a dress out of tissue paper, and my dad and I would go to the beach because we grew up, and we'd go to Galveston. Um, but I'd collect seashells and stuff. And then we'd come home and we would make, like, I wanted to make something from it. So we would make like birdhouses, and I would glue all the stuff. So, I mean, from a child, I was creatively like a creative creature and inclined to always make things and be dirty and go run around in the mud and, just a kid. And yeah, I was never like a serious, like, I'm going to, yeah, no. But I read a lot of books though. It was just so weird because I excelled in school and I'd win contests for reading the most books in the year, whatever. So I don't know.
that I was always jealous of that person because I wanted to be the smartest and etc. But I also liked riding my bike outside all the time. So
Yeah.
so in class, when in school, when it was like the time of day or the day of the week or whatever to do like an art project, were you like got it like
Oh yeah. I won all of my book reports because I would like, they would always be these fantastical things that I was like, okay, I want to make a diorama of this. I want to make that, like, and I was just, and this is like elementary school. And I'd come home and I'd be like, this is what I need, Dad. And he would go and get me all of my supplies, and I would make, yeah, I was like always stoked to do stuff like that.
and when did acting sort of show up?
Probably like, if I mean, it's so ridiculous if I told you the way I was in college. That's so bad. It was probably like when I was maybe like 17. I've always wanted to be an actor or something like that, but I didn't really start to try. I guess I was like 16 or something like that. I got an agent, and I'm about to so age myself, but they were like, we had pagers in the day. And so I'd have a pager, and the agent would page me and I'd call him. But sometimes when they would call the house, my dad would pick up the phone, or my mom, and if they're like, "Yeah, it's Krista, who's this?" "Oh, this is Sir Ajo," they would just hang up on him.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, not
Wow.
acceptable. But yeah, it was like,
So in high school, most people are rebelling by staying out late, smoking cigarettes, going to beer drinking parties at the golf course. So you were doing that also.
oh yeah, the degenerate kid.
I was just about to try to make the point that you were the nerd who was secretly going out and modeling and acting, but you were you did all the degenerate.
All of the things.
Do you think that your parents viewed acting and modeling and all that stuff as a distraction, or do you think they truly that was preventing you from actually doing pre-med things or whatever, or do you think that they viewed it as like the den of iniquity, like you were gonna, like your mother was saying? Do you think she really believed that was?
Yeah.
Oh,
But it's because, and I've now come to understand it, because my parents and I are on, they finally support me,
they've
support
seen
what
you
I'm
on
doing.
TV, yeah.
Yeah. I think it was when I finally moved to LA for the second time. They were like, all right, I guess this is like real, but they didn't, yeah, they didn't understand it. And I was also, they were immigrants. I was born in Iran. And so my parents thought that I was going to get raped or murdered anytime I left the house. Like, that was a fact to them. My sister had it so easy. I mean, nothing that I got. They wouldn't let me do anything. So then I did everything. The degenerate kid,
Yeah.
and going and partying until 4 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, I was, but they just saw me as a wild child. I was the black sheep of the family. And they were like, oh yeah, she's going to get into this. And you watch TV and it's like, everything is like sexy on TV.
Yeah.
So they think that that's what the reality is, which is not, for me anyway.
Did your parents move after the 79 revolution?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you remember missing friends and extended family and that sort of thing when you came to the States? Was that a sort of a PTSD thing?
I think I was too young I missed my family. Like, I missed my grandmother and my grandfather and like cousins and stuff. But we always had every intention on going back. And my father is very like anti-government, which I love that about him. Weirdly, he's the only Persian atheist like that I had ever known growing up, and now there's lots of us. But yeah, so he's like progressive in that sense. And when the revolution happened, he was like, "There's no way I'm going to let my kid and my wife grow up in this, or live in this," because before you didn't have to wear the scarf on your head. And my mom was in mini skirts and go-go boots with beehive hairdos and like cat eyes. Like, they looked so rad. Some of the pictures from my mom, I'm like, where are these clothes? But yeah, so then my dad was like, he can't live like being oppressed like that, and us being oppressed like that. So yeah, it was like, but we stayed, and I'm so happy, obviously. I feel very fortunate. I'm legal, just so you know. I'm a citizen.
Do you know how they chose Texas?
Dude, don't even. I'm like, oh, the obvious place for Persians to go, right? Jesus. No, I think they just had like a distant family friend of a friend or something. And we ended up there, and I'm like, why not LA or New York? Why Texas?
Yeah.
I love it. I don't really, when I go back now, which is not often, I'm like, how did I live here that long? I said that quiet so not everybody could
You
hear
did.
what I was saying. Yeah.
So, but you do have you do. I know that you have some Texas pride because I know that you're a fan of food that you grew up with there and et cetera. I mean, like I don't think a person can fully grow up there and then reject it whole. Yeah.
I'm actually going to get a tattoo. It's going to be, I'm not sure where it's going to be yet, but it's going to be the shape of Iran, the shape of Texas, and the shape of California.
Nice.
Because no, I mean, I am Texas through and through still. You know what I mean? All the lovely parts of Texas I am, which there are lots. But it's just, I guess in this day and age, it's so weird. But when I was living there, I loved it. You know, all of my friends were like degenerates when we were in high school. And then we get into college. And then after college, it's like artists, musicians, writers. So there's lovely people there, you know.
Did you stay in Austin for a minute after school?
No, I came back to Dallas, and then I moved for the first time to LA. Failed miserably, came back 5 weeks later.
5 weeks.
Yeah.
So talk about that. Like, how did you decide to move, and then was it? Yeah.
Well, I wanted to move, and I did. Had saved up. I came with an ex, but we had saved up money, and then we came, and we had one car, and then the engine blew on the car. That was like $4,000. We couldn't get anybody to rent to us, so we had to pay 6 months rent in advance. This is after having to pay for a hotel for 2 weeks because we could not find anywhere to live. And we had one of those phones that you had to prepay, you know?
Yeah.
And the car, that, and then I tried to get a bunch of jobs, and it was so weird because like the literal day, like literally the day before we were like, okay, this is it, we're moving back. I ran into two of the guys that I had applied for and interviewed with, and one was at Luna Park back in the day. You remember that place? And then the other one was some rock and roll joint in West Hollywood. It was brand new. I can't remember the name of it, but I ran into them, and they were like, wait, and they were like, I said something, and he goes, are you? And I go, Parisa. I go, the girl you didn't hire. He goes, we did. We called you so many times.
Oh, dude.
But my phone was out of whatever juice. I was like,
no credits on your phone.
And I was just like, oh my God. I did work at the Comedy Store for a hot second, and that was interesting. But
do you think that so then running into those guys, it wasn't clearly it wasn't enough to change.
I had $142 left.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then when we were leaving too, we went to go cash that $142 check. And then my ex at the time, my boyfriend at the time, my ex was like, can we go get those cinnamon sticks from like fucking, sorry, am I not allowed to cuss?
You could say whatever you want.
Okay, at Burger King or something like that. So we went and got him, and the cop pulls us over, and he had lost his ID, and he took the car from us and impounded it.
Oh my God.
And we had to walk like 10 blocks back to the house to get the registration to go to the police department. And we go to the police department, they're like, today's your lucky day. The cop came back and ran your stuff, and it looks like you're legal, you know, and you know, your driver's license is valid. And we're like, it was our lucky day. He wouldn't have taken our car, and his computer wouldn't have been busted, you know? But yeah, after that, it was just like good riddance, get me out of LA. And then I came back, and it was great.
It's so weird, like that both of those things have happened to me where not specifically, but like I auditioned for one of the first improv groups that I auditioned for was this group that some of the people went on to fame and fortune. And when I had auditioned, I didn't have a reliable phone situation either, and I had left my hometown and gone to this tiny little college, you know, a commuter college, like 3 hours away, in order just to get away from my hometown for my sophomore year of college. And I ran into one of the guys from that group that I loved. And he said, where have you been? We wanted to bring you on as a cast member. You'd be in our show. And I said, oh, he said, we called you. Anyway, I told him that story 25 or something years later, and he was like, oh, dude, yeah, that sucks. But anyway, and then
That's
also
heartbreaking.
when I was bi-coastal with New York, I was trying to decide on whether LA was the place for me or New York. And I was still not 100% sure either way. And this one particular summer I was back living in New York, all these things, it was Lemony Snicket's series of unfortunate events. I mean, all these things happened to the point where I broke my arm crashing my bike. And I was like, oh yeah, New York is telling me to go to hell. So
You're like, fuck off, New York.
So 5 weeks. So you come back, you go back to Dallas, and did you like have to go get a day job and all these sorts of things? Were your parents happy to have you back? What happened?
Oh no, I mean they hated me then, and they were like, they thought I shouldn't go back, and that I shouldn't have even gone in the first place. And I came back. I went back to my old place, but I was waiting tables and cocktail waitressing, bartending. So I did that some more, and saved up some more money. And then I think it was about 5 years later. My intention was not to be 5 years, but it happened. And then came back to LA, but still was acting at that point and stuff, because I didn't live with my parents. I got my own, I had my own place. So yeah, I just kind of kept at it, and was driving back and forth from Austin a lot, auditioning for stuff, did some independent crappy films, whatever, just to get some credits and, get your feet wet. So yeah, just did that and kept at that.
And when you eventually did come back to LA, did you feel like, okay, now I know what I'm doing? And
yeah. It felt so, I had done the whole thing the first time I came, sending out headshots and all that stuff. And this one man, I can't remember his name, but I know his last name was Willis, I think. But he called me and he was like, you have a great look. I think what you're doing is amazing. You need to get a little bit more experience and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, so keep in touch with me. And, I didn't, because I don't know, I just didn't. But, but it was kind of cool, because you're like, oh, could it have been something? And yes, I think if I would have stayed, I would have been further in my career. But because I went back to Texas, and people were like, they had no idea what to do with me. I was, oh, you're so ethnic, you're so exotic. I get those all of the time, and Persian wasn't cool back then, So yeah, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, now it's cool to be ethnic.
Let's talk about that a little bit. So I think a lot of people that I've spoken with talk about the weirdness of, I don't know if it's just America or if it's Western society or whatever it is, but the sort of weirdness of saying you're exotic or you're ethnic. Yes. That's such a weird generalization.
Yeah, I mean, I got it all the time. Even when I was at the audition, they would just say it at me. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't really know what to do with that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how I kept at it, to be perfectly honest, because anybody else smarter than me would have left and ran and never looked back. But I don't know. It's what I wanted to do, and I can't imagine doing anything else.
I was listening to an interview with Rita Moreno, and she was talking about her early career of, even after becoming famous in West Side Story, people still casting her as Greek or Middle Eastern or whatever, all these different things.
Yeah.
And her constantly saying like, I'm Puerto Rican, and they're like, yeah, we don't know what that means.
You don't need that.
And also she talked about even then, even when she was cast, she talked about herself being cast and George Chakiris being cast for their ethnicity, then having to wear darkening makeup on top of it because they were told, you're not quite brown enough. And I mean, I grew up, upper middle class, cisgendered, straight, white male, Midwestern, and I don't. It's been a hard enough slog for me to try to have a career in the performing arts. To have that kind of stuff on top of all
Oh
of it.
yeah. Well, it's for me it was like Rita Moreno. People are like, Hispanic. And then when you go stand, and I've always said this, when I stand next to a real live Hispanic person, I don't look Hispanic. I start to look what I am,
Yeah.
and
Uh-oh. Did
the
my
real deal is out there. Why?
Yeah.
Especially like my old manager used to send me for stuff. I'll never forget this. He sent me it was Indian roll. And I looked through the material, because if it's like, doesn't have to be Indian, then there's that. But it was an Indian writer, an Indian director, based on an Indian novel. And I called him, I'm like, they are never going to cast a non-Indian person, as they shouldn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, you're brown, you could be so many, but whatever,
Oof. Yeah.
Which is fine, but I don't know, whatever.
Did it ever end up becoming like a conversation with casting, or a conversation with a rep where they like pushed back, where it was a difficult conversation where you had to say like, no, I'm not going in for that, or anything like that?
No, like that one, I just said, I'm not going in. There's no way they're going to hire anybody other than an Indian person. And I kind of got to a point where I was like, I'm not going to do this, and I won't do this. And I would just look at the roles as they came. If it did not have to be a certain thing, then I would go. But
Sure.
if not, I would put my foot down. Like, one thing for me was, I will not do a role that is in a hijab unless it serves a purpose. Not just, she's a lawyer, but she wears a hijab. Why does she wear a hijab? Like, it's like, it was a guest star, I think it was. It was just like, they just wanted to they wanted to show some diversity. So like, let's throw her, in a hijab. And I'm like, no, that's not this, if it's a story of strength, or like growth, or, something like that, then I'm all about it. But not just willy-nilly, this is how we show she's Muslim. I'm not Muslim, so.
So yes, it sounds like what you're saying is the something like wearing a hijab, the character needs to have, we need to know what the character is about, that they are wearing this hijab. You can't just write the role.
Yeah. Well, I got burned so hard. I'm going to tell you the story. I'll make it fast.
This is exciting.
I booked a job. Yeah, it's not that exciting, but I booked a job, and I did not want to go in this audition because she's got a hijab on. But I looked at the role, and I was like, it's for Shameless. And I was like, this is kind of funny. It says, a youthful woman, I'll never forget this because obviously it left an impression on me. It says, youthful woman dressed in a hijab, masquerading as a 70-year-old. And I was like, yeah,
that's funny.
That's hilarious. It's funny. The reveal is going to be great. And she had a pet goat. And William H. Macy was trying to get us to the border. And then, we get to the border, and I rip my hijab off, and I've got my hair all curled and all this makeup. And I'm like, yes, I'll audition for that. So I book it accidentally, and oh my God, was it the opposite?
Oh, really?
I won't say who directed it, but she completely took the joke away from my character. And I remember starting, and I was like, hey, so you want me to walk like a 70-year-old and, talk a little bit? And she's like, no, you just be you. And I was like, what? And then the whole time she just kept going, pull her hijab down, pull her hijab down. So it never came off. They never let me be a 7, because if I was a 7-year-old, I would be walking like this,
Yeah,
but I was not. I was walking normal. And every time I would try to, she'd like, stand up. And I'm like, okay. So I was so disappointed. She took the joke away from my character, and I was miserable doing that role.
It kind of sounds like she took the whole point away from the
exactly.
character.
She took the entire point of it away, and I was floored. I even went back through the script, like I didn't miss anything, right? Like did I make a mistake rereading? And I didn't. And she took, the whole point of the character was gone. The joke was gone. I was just another beat down brown girl, as I like to describe those.
I've heard you say that before.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. So now with just more discretion, I think, choose those.
How was, I mean, not to dwell on this, but how was working with William H. Macy and the Shameless gang?
He is so lovely.
Yeah.
He would come up to us and be like, "You guys want to run lines?"
Oh my gosh.
Yes, please. Yeah. He was so great. He was very gracious, very sweet, kind of kept to himself too, understandably so. Yeah, it was great. We had to fly to Chicago to shoot some of it. So we were on location, and he was just a very nice man. That's
really cool.
Yeah.
I have some friends who work with him at the Atlantic Theater Company in New York. So you get back to Los Angeles, you feel like you've got your feet and et cetera. Did stuff just start happening pretty quickly? Did you have to, get a day job? Did you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I immediately got a voiceover agent, which is how you and I met, but, yeah. And I immediately got a commercial agent, and I think I booked my first commercial in a matter of like a few months of being here.
Fantastic.
So that was cool. And then we came kind of as a group, and then my boyfriend at the time, we both came out here. We were together for a really long time, but him and I didn't work because we had money saved up, and we didn't work for a while. And then like after, I think it was like a year, I was like, I think I need to get a job. So I got a bartending job in Pasadena, and I worked that for a year and made really good money. And then I started booking commercials and stuff and voiceovers. So I quit, and I, knock on wood, I have not had to have a real job since probably 2007 or something like that.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
You've speaking of voiceovers, you've got a lot of anime stuff.
Most of that in Texas.
Yeah, and I didn't even know about any of those things.
Yeah.
Fruits Basket, Dragon Ball GT, Case Closed. I didn't even know about these.
Yeah, I mean,
things.
That's kind of like, there's a company called Funimation in Dallas, and I think they're based out of Fort Worth, but yeah, they do all the anime and stuff. And it's funny, like a couple of years ago, one of the dudes from Fruits Basket called me and was like, "Hey, we're bringing Fruits Basket back, and we want you to reprise your role." And I was like, yes. And they were going to do 64 episodes. I was so excited. And then I was like, "So you going to go union?"
Oh, dude. Oh.
And he said they couldn't. Oh. So I turned it down. Solidarity for a union. It was really hard to not. I mean, here's the deal. It's like, I wasn't going to make a boatload of money, but it was just fun to do. And, animation is so much fun. I mean, matching flaps is not super fun, but yeah, it was a bummer.
For the uninitiated, matching flaps means watching someone speak on screen, whether a real person or an animated person, and saying the words to match how the mouth is moving.
Called ADR or
yes.
whatever, but yes.
Yeah. Well, it's frustrating because that's happened to me a couple of times where it sounded like a project was going to be really cool, and then I was like, it's probably going to make a splash. It's probably going to be a big thing that people are going to be excited about, and you're deciding to make it non-union, so that's not great.
It's not.
And
I was too scared. I was like, I don't want to, and it's like, how it is. If you get like busted for something like that, and they decide to really do something, you don't get your health insurance, you don't get to do film and TV and commercials here, so it's just not worth it.
Yeah, the reality about SAG-AFTRA, for people who don't necessarily know, is that there are projects out there that SAG-AFTRA says, you know what, we don't we haven't worked out jurisdiction with this thing, this network or this production company. So we're just going to kind of let things happen. We're not going to punish our members for working with them, et cetera. And then there is a huge swath of TV, film, and others and voiceover stuff, which should be union and should be governed, should be in hand in hand in cooperation with the union. And the union, if a member, does works on those kinds of projects, the union will say like, yeah, you've just violated your union membership rules and et cetera. So it's a weird landscape for creative artists trying to make a living as actors and voiceover people, because it's tempting. It's, of course it's tempting for somebody to say like, hey, will you come and do this thing? It's non-union. And you're like, yeah, I'd make some money, but is it worth?
No.
It's like, you're also kind of saying to the producer for a non-union job, you're saying like, yeah, sure, you don't have to provide me with 1 penny of pension and health to the future. Exactly. You don't have to provide me with a guaranteed safe set where a crane isn't going to fall on my head. That's okay. I don't care. I'll change in the bathroom. I'll, bring my own lunch, etc. Yeah. It's as an actor, it's like saying to the production, sure, you can disrespect me.
Well, the only thing I'll say about Funimation is they're based in Texas, so Texas is a right to work state.
Oh, so, yeah, no, yeah, sorry.
I get that, but they have studios here. Because I was like, would I have to come back to Dallas to do this? He was like, no, we have studios remote there that we have dudes up there recording all the actors that are in LA doing it. So I'm like, there's a lot of actors that are doing, and I was just like, I can't do it, man. Like you said, I have respect for me and my fellow actors. And so, no.
Yeah. It's a sort of a long, slow fight that's been going on for many, many, many years with respecting actors and making sure that they can make a living and be protected. And I still don't. I mean, I was a super active union person in New York back in the day, and I thought all of our problems were going to be solved by the early 2000s, and it's just only gotten worse and more terrible.
I'm just curious though, are you still with Abrams? No.
Yeah. For voiceovers, I'm with Abrams, which is now being called A3. And
Okay.
And commercials, KMR.
Oh, I was with KMR for a while.
Theatrical, I7.
Oh, I'm with voiceover, I7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's funny.
We have a lot of representation overlap.
Yeah.
But we're running shy on time, so I want to get to some of these things. So tell me about a show, a TV job that you think was sort of like, oh man, this is how it's supposed to be. I get to be me. I'm doing the role, but I also get to be me. People are nice. Just things. Are there any that come to mind that you're like, man, that was, maybe Shameless was it that exemplified that, but it just felt like this.
Well, I work on SEAL Team, and I don't know if it's just because I've been on with them for 4 seasons, but that feels like I have never really had a recurring for that long. And everybody is so lovely and so supportive and kind. I just booked a ticket last night to go visit the head makeup artist. She has a place in Utah, so I'm flying up for a few days.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's like everybody's just really kind. And I have to give a shout out to Neil Brown Jr. because he plays my husband on the show. And I have never worked with an actor that is so supporting, so giving, looks out for me so much. He advocates for me and fights for me. And it is probably one of the greatest experiences I've had.
Did you audition for it as a recurring, or was it like a guest star that they blew up, or what, how did that go?
It said possibly recurring.
Yeah.
And I got lucky.
Wow. That is fantastic.
Yeah. And Neil has I just can't even say enough about this dude.
What's the character like?
Well, she's Middle Eastern married to a Navy SEAL, and he is half Black, half white. And so we have this intermixed marriage. And I am a very strong-headed, opinionated character. And there's no holds barred with my husband. So, and I love that. And what was really interesting, this is like Neil and I had worked out what we wanted to be our backstory, like when we shot the pilot.
Oh.
And I was like, I think it would be interesting. You kill people for a living. If I was a nurse, he's like, yes, nurse. So we did that. And then we also incorporated the fact he is a man of God on the show and in real life. But he was like, well, you're an atheist. What would it be like if Naima, my character, was an atheist? So the writers wrote that in.
Oh, that's amazing.
I love that a Middle Eastern woman can be portrayed in a way that not many people get to see her people like us in that way. So I feel very, very lucky.
That's really cool. Like that's like a kind of the thing that actors strive. One of my old acting teachers used to say, the thing that you're striving for is to get a job where the writers write things that you come up with together, that or that are true about you in real life, and et cetera, that's amazing. So it's Neil Brown Jr., right? So did you become friends right away? Like, was it just like you clicked? Was that
right away?
Yeah.
He's very lovely, and everybody loves Neil, and he's good to everyone. But we just clicked. And funny story is that, like, when I was living in Idlewild for 6 months, when I'd come in town, it was like high COVID, And so I stayed with a friend one time, and then my sister's like, you can stay with me. But I felt like I was micromanaging people's lives, because I'm like, where have you been? Have you touched a glass that somebody else did? And and like, I didn't want to micromanage anybody's life. So Neil was like, just stay with me and Katrina, his wife. And I was like, they have a huge house, and they put me upstairs in like the suite. I felt like I was staying at a hotel. So yeah, they just let me stay there for like 6 months when we were shooting. I stayed with them every time I came in town. Yeah. So we kind of just clicked and ran with it. And I was in their wedding too.
Oh,
yeah.
That's amazing.
Very sweet.
That sounds like that's the job of jobs right there. Like that's.
Yeah, I got lucky. I don't think anybody else, could. I don't know. I've just never had anybody give a shit like that about me, and so it's very, very amazing.
And what's the story? Have you shot a new season recently, or where are you?
Just got picked up for season 5.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I think rumor is we're going back end of July, like 3rd week of July or something like that, but nothing yet.
Well, that's cool. I noticed on your special skills that you do.
I don't know how, it's been so long since I've looked at my resume.
There's nothing, I'm not going to mention anything weird, but you do firearms. Do you think being a person who has experience with firearms has helped you get an audition or get a job? No.
And this is only because, like, in Texas, my friends and I would go to the middle of the woods and shoot cans. And then somebody was like, let's go to the shooting range. And we did that. And so I got pretty good. I don't own a gun, and I don't want a gun, but yeah, that's what I did when I was younger. I should probably take that off, because it's been a while since I've held a gun in my hand.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you should take off, because I think, when they say, do you ride a horse? When they say, when casting asks for special skills, they want, first of all, they obviously, if they say it doesn't have to be an expert. I remember I auditioned for something where
I can do all of it.
Well, it's like it's like I auditioned for something where it said you had to be a scuba diver, and I'm a certified scuba diver, but I hadn't been diving in at least a decade. And I was like, so I literally, in between the audition and the callback, hoping that I would get a callback, I went and did a refresher course, which was just one day. Yeah. So that when I got to the callback, I could be like, like confident that I didn't get the job, but the same goes for other things. Like, if they say you need to be familiar with this or you need to be familiar with that and not an expert, then I'm like, yeah. And I think firearms for you, if you a person who has shot particular firearms, then.
Yeah. I shot cans in the woods. But I'm the opposite of you. If they say like they want something, I'm like, oh no, I'm not. I mean, like I've ridden a horse before, but I would never go for we just need somebody that can ride a horse. I'm like, yeah, but then you end up putting me on a horse, cool, I'll figure it out. But no, I'm not gonna just willingly be like, I'm the horse person here. But yeah, one thing I should add, now that you say that though, I'll tell you one thing about me that some people only closest to me know. I'm a degenerate gambler.
Really?
I used to be a degenerate gambler. Now I love to gamble.
It says blackjack in your special skill.
Oh, it does say it. I thought it wasn't in there.
Yeah.
I love it. God, I love it.
So are you like an old school, like what's that movie? Rounders, the old school, sleeper person where you go in and you're just like, let's play some blackjack. And then
blackjack. Well, unfortunately, blackjack is not like poker, because your livelihood is
far less control, right?
Yeah,
right.
No control. But my best friend and I used to go to play blackjack tournaments, and we used to win. And we really did a number on people, unknowingly that we were both doing it at the same time. And we'd have crowds of people around us because they're like, oh my God, can you believe that she did that? So yeah, I love it so much. It sounds like I'm a crackhead where I'm like,
because you go in, no. It sounds like you go in, dressed in like normal clothes or something, and people don't expect you're going to be really good.
I literally wore this t-shirt, and I was in the high desert last week, and my friend he's a musician, and had a rehearsal or something. I was like, well, I'm going to go to the casino because I'm like, I'm vaccinated now. It was my first time back, and wore a mask the entire time. I went, and I mean, like, I'm very honest. People look at me and they probably think I'm like those ding dongs in Vegas that sit down and they're like, I'm going to split these tens, and I would literally jump over the table and choke you if you split two tens. I'll slap you. I don't want to choke you, but yeah, no. So then I'll play, and then eventually the dude at the end will be like, I'm glad you know what you're doing. I'm like, yeah, I've been playing a long time, buddy.
Because people judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which isn't to say that someone that looks like you look in that t-shirt and with a mask on shouldn't know what they're doing playing blackjack, but people, bring their prejudices to the blackjack table.
Well, it's always just like salty dogs. You know what I mean? Like older dudes, older women, and like a lot of Asian men play blackjack too, and they always know what they're doing. So they see like somebody that's younger than them. I'm not going to say I'm young, but younger than them, and not typically like whatever a blackjack player looks like. But I always like sitting down. It kind of tickles me because then I just wait for them. So I play a little bit, and then they realize that I know what I'm doing, and then there's that like unsaid respect for each other.
Sure,
you know what I mean?
Sure. The game knows game. Is that the phrase I'm trying to think of? Is that right? Game recognizes game.
Yes.
So your parents looked at going into modeling and acting as going down the devil's driveway. What do they think about poker and gambling and blackjack?
My mother was like, when she found out that I was like addicted. Oh, I was so bad. I was playing like when I turned 21 in college, and that was not good because I was depleting my bank account and then having to go wait tables to replenish it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it was a problem. So it's not anymore like that, but I am sick still. Like I'm like, oh,
was there a person who got you into it, or was it just your own curiosity?
Oh yeah, there's a person, my best friend who gambles with me. And he said this the other day, he goes, because you're so crazy now about gambling, he goes, I don't have to be as crazy anymore. I'm like, I don't know why you threw me. So
you've really done a public service for him. That's nice. That's really nice. Oh man. How about what was the other thing that I saw on your? Oh yeah. So skydiving. Have you jumped? How many times have you jumped out of a plane and pulled on a parachute? Oh, just one time.
Never again.
So So, okay. So you put that sort of as a thing that you've done. It's sort of like, I've done that.
Or I would do it.
Right.
Because I've done it, then I would do it again. But I'm not pro.
Do you think gambling is a safe kind of risk and similar to, oh no, it's not safe.
No, because I used to lose. I was so bad. We used to go get our VCRs and sell them at the pawn shop.
Sure.
It was bad. We would dig in our car for change to eat.
Yeah. But it's not jumping out of an airplane.
No, it's not. But you know,
is having a career in the performing arts gambling?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, life is a gamble.
Yeah.
It's so funny because it's one of the lines in my pilot, because the pilot was loosely based on my best friend, gambling problems.
I love it.
So yeah, I do. I believe, you know, life is a gamble, but yes, but choosing to be an artist in any capacity, I feel like is a gamble.
Yeah.
You know, but I feel like somebody like you would understand that I can't do anything else. I remember when I was younger, I went and got a job at a .com, and my mom was over the moon. And I went in one day and I came back. I was like, I can't do it. And mom was like, what do you mean? You have only one day. And I was like, I just can't. So.
Have you ever impersonated your mom's accent for a role?
Oh, of course.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Just checking. A friend of mine, my friend Rob Schraub, wrote a book called "I Can't Do Anything Else." He's an artist and director and writer, and but he's like, I mean, his advice to people, to an artist person, you know, having like a crisis is like, if there's anything else you could do, go do it. But I can't do anything else.
Yeah.
You know.
My niece keeps asking me, she keeps writing me and saying, I can't not be in the arts. I have to. She wants to be a singer-songwriter, and she's pretty good. But I'm like, dude, please get your degree, like your college degree, because I sent her a Casio keyboard and a stand and the microphone. And her dad was like, my cousin was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, and I told her, I said, if there's anything else you can do that. Don't do music, don't do acting, don't do it. But so now I think she's got the bug, unfortunately. Fortunately, we need more artists. Because we love to love. Yeah. Make things.
What's your favorite kind of acting / storytelling? I know you've done sketch comedy, you've done improv, you've done
sketch comedy.
Yeah.
And improv.
You've done, you know, guest star roles on a TV show where you kind of drop in, are the role, and then you're done. You've got, you know, SEAL Team where you get to play the same character in many episodes. What's your favorite? Do you have a favorite? I know you did this MET theater. Is that what it's called in LA?
Met theater.
Yeah, Met Theater in LA. I didn't even know that theater. But
Ed Harris used to be in that theater.
Yeah. So talk about the differences between those things and how you as a artist, storyteller.
Okay.
You know.
So, I mean, like my dream job would be either like super, super high drama, but high drama in like the sense of Lars von Trier, like gut you drama.
Yeah.
And then, or Arrested Development. Yeah. Like those, I have a very dry sense of humor, and that kind of comedy is like, oh my God, I love it so much. But yeah, so that's that. And then when I was in the Met Theater, I started doing theater, shitty theater. But I met the people that I was in my sketch group with. And our sketch group was like, we were so good. Like, I don't say that about stuff that I do, but we were so good. And like, we'd have shows and sell out 99 theater, you know, the 99-seat theater. And then, excuse me, NBC would like call about us, and MTV would call about us. And then the dude that started the sketch group went on and had a kid and started to write for The Office, and he couldn't really do the sketch group anymore. And we just kind of fizzled, and it was so sad. But he's an amazing dude, and he's still my friend. He's talented as.
Is there a Lars von Trier that you recommend that you think hasn't gotten enough attention? I remember the first time I remember when I saw The Five Obstructions, and I was like, This is sort of next level stuff because
Wait, which movie?
he's in the Five Obstructions and directed it, and
Did he write it?
no, I don't
Okay.
think so. But like, is there anything that kind of comes off the top of your head?
Yeah. Dancer in the Dark.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally, it wrecked me so hard. That and Breaking the Waves.
Yeah.
It's so good. I mean, I said Von Trier out of like just, but like Almodovar is one of my favorite filmmakers. Yorgos Lanthimos is one of my favorite filmmakers. Like I just like really dark, painful dramas.
Okay.
Or else, but I don't like watching so-and-so's Christmas, like what is that, Bosses or whatever, like that comedy with like Will Ferrell and like I don't really love that kind of comedy. I like really more dark, improv-y, funny, like Waiting for Guffman. Like I like
Sure.
that kind of comedy.
And when you say gut-wrenching drama, what do you think attracts you to that?
I love to feel when I watch. And if it's like I don't really watch like any of those procedurals or anything like that are on television because, it's all by rote. But like with dramas like that, I love to cry and I love to laugh. So I don't know, it's a release and I like to be moved. So I love when I make somebody laugh, and I love if I can make somebody cry on purpose, not being mean to them.
not by taking their money at the at the blackjack table.
Oh no, I'll happily do that. Fair game.
What's next? So SEAL Team is about to start shooting another season.
Yep.
Do you have other projects, other things? Are you doing collages? Do you still do collages? Do you have time?
Oh, look, this is funny. I have my my basket of stuff that I was cutting out.
Yes. Look at that.
Yeah. So I haven't had a super ton of time. So at least whenever I don't have a bunch of time, I just like cut stuff out just so I can have them. And I don't know, sometimes I just put on a podcast and listen to a podcast and cut. And so that, and I am, just it's sort of starting to pick up again. I've been auditioning, excuse me. And I told you, I don't know why, unsolicited, I'm like, I finished my pilot. You're like, lunatic. I didn't ask.
So
I think it's because I remember a long time ago, I was like, sorry, I have to shut this window. It's so hot. I couldn't remember if I sent you an old pilot that my friend and I wrote. No? Okay. So
I don't think so.
So that's why I mentioned it to you. And I was like, I don't think it was Mike Rock that I sent it to. So anyway, sorry about that. But I've revised that thing like 9 times and then been entering it into screenplay competitions. And one of them gave me notes. And it was pretty good notes, positive notes, but I'm rewriting almost half of it now. I want to stick my head in the oven, but I'm going to write it instead.
Well, good for you. Write hard.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts for the person that may be listening to this that is maybe has $142 in the bank and is thinking about show business or moving or anything like that?
Yeah, I think, I know we joke, we tell people like, if there's anything else you want to do, go do that. Yeah, sure. But if this is what you love and like your friend's book, and like we probably said 1,000 times, if there's nothing else you can do, then do it. But if you do it, you can't quit. You have to just keep going. Every time something bad happens or like things are not the best, I always have to say this to myself is this is the life you've chosen. This is the life you've chosen.
Yeah.
It is. And it'll get better and it might get worse. But, if there's nothing else you can do, then do it hard.
Thanks, Parisa.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us for Impro Talk, whether you are listening sometime in the future or whether you are watching this here in June of 2021. Thanks to Simon Duvall for being our moderator and Rachel Wasserman for being our tech. And go to improtheater.com for more information. Oh, Parisa, give your social media account so people can follow you. What's that?
My social security number?
Yeah, you give people your social security number so they can make fake IDs and
I'm on Instagram. You may tell them what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to.
I'm not very savvy at this stuff. It's at Parisa. And then I'm on Twitter, but I'm only on Twitter so I can read about politics. So I don't really post a lot. But I'm at Fakhri Parisa if you must.
Well, someday we'll do a part 2 and we'll talk politics, or I'll have you on a panel about politics or something.
Oh yeah, I'd like that a lot.
Haven't endeavored that with Impro Talk yet, but
yeah,
who knows?
Keep them separate.
We may do. All right.
Thank you. It was so good seeing your face. It's been too long.
It has. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Impro Talk.